This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, good evening. This is Suresh here.
Good evening, Suresh.
Good evening guys, good evening one and all.
Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, so guys, we started discussing on the workflows part. The way how the approval mechanism and success factors works is what we have started discussing yesterday. So the way how an workflow can be first defined in success factors employee central with different kinds of participants like approvers, contributors, CC role, all that is what we have been looking at. So I'll quickly give you a recap of that things for what we discussed yesterday and how to trigger that workflow. You configured a workflow. A workflow is a set of approvers and all. You defined it. So we should trigger that exactly whenever there is a data change in the system, there is a leave request in the system, or there is a promotion in the system for that specific. Whenever there is a data change, we need a workflow to be triggered. So using business rules as a concept, how to trigger that workflow is what we'll be looking at in our today's session. Okay, so totally this workflows related concept is a three-step process. So first step is what we saw yesterday. The second and third we'll see in our today's session. Okay, so before that, any specific, okay, well, let me first give you a recap, then I'll take any questions if you have. Just a moment. So where can we find the workflows in SuccessFactors? Where should I go for? Where, what is the
Manage workflow group.
Manage workflow groups. I'm asking where to create a workflow.
Oh, creation. Or pay and job structure.
Yeah, so if we go for organization, job and pay structures, so here you have the workflow object, the way how we have the other objects like locations, pay ranges, pay grades, all. Even workflow is one foundation object that can be found here in the manage organization pay job structures. So here on the left hand side you find the existing workflows. You select the workflow as an object, you get the existing list of workflows that are already defined in the system. And on the right hand side, obviously create new, we can even create the new workflows as well. Okay, and here the workflow level, we have two set of participants, I mean three set of participants in a workflow: approvers, contributors and CC role. You don't have any limit on the number of approvers, and similarly number of contributors, number of CC role for anything, you don't have any limit. So approvals, if you want to have 2 level approval or 10 level approval, 20 level approval also you can have it. So maximum in the real time we see 5 or even 6 is also very rare case. Okay, so that way you can have any number of levels of approvals that as per the customer requirement that we can configure. And the behavior of approver is they have the right to approve any request that that came to them, or they can even decline the request that came to them. That is a way. Whereas contributors are the people who can have the access to every workflow in the system. So I mean, what for whichever workflow they are maintained as a contributor, for those workflows they have the complete access. They can see who triggered the workflow, to whom it went for approval. Next, what are the comments that were given by different approvers as on date. So who approved it, who rejected it, everything they can see, and they can also give some comments. As a contributor, they can give some comments and recommendations on the workflow, but they cannot actually approve the workflow. Either approval or declining, they can't take the decision, they can't make the decision, but they can give the suggestions to the actual approvers. So that is the contributors. They see the entire data. So once we see even the output, once we are done with this configuration, if we see the output also, we will get more clarity. So end of the day, what an approver can see, everything contributor can also see, except the buttons called approve and decline, rest all they will have. That is a contributor role. And CC role is a person, whomever we maintain in the CC role, they will be notified about this workflow at the end of the workflow. So somebody initiated it, it went for first level approval, it went for second level approval, whatever done. After all the levels of approval, finally it is approved or finally it is rejected. That single thing is what that will be sent to the person who is in the CC role, saying that the leave request of Mr. Suresh is approved. The address change request of Mr. Ramesh is declined. Like that, one-liner mail will be going. So that is what This workflow consists of 3 set of participants: workflows, contributors, sorry, approvers, contributors, and CC role. Okay, and that is the main thing. And you can have each and every approver determined through 5 different types: roles, dynamic groups, all these 5 types. Where when it comes to contributor, apart from that 5, you have one more type as person based, where you can directly hard code a name of a person if you want. And in the CC role level, along with that person, you have one more additional one again here added in the CC role level called called external email. If you want to even send that final email notification, that copy email notification to somebody even out of the system, you can even do that. So here in the approver level, you have 5 types. In the contributor level, it came to 6 with the person additionally, and in the CC role level, it came to 7 with even external email additionally added. That is the way. And here we have different attributes that we discussed yesterday. So here this respect permission is one attribute that we will now look into. So before that, any specific questions on any of these particular topics or attributes? Anyone? Okay. So the last attribute that we have is respect permission. That is, respect permissions means, should this workflow object consider the role-based permissions or not? Should this workflow object consider the role-based permissions or not is the question, guys. That is, say example, in a company, they have a policy that the reporting managers should not see their subordinates address data. Any reporting manager should not see their address data is the requirement. So accordingly, in the role-based permissions, we have disabled the visibility access on the address data of the subordinates to all the managers. We designed the role-based permissions in such a way. Now, example, now manager itself is the approver for. If employee updated his address details and it came for manager approval, so definitely manager should be able to see what is the change, what is the old address, what is the new address. He should be able to see and he has to approve it. But if you say as per the permissioning in your system, if the managers are not supposed to see the subordinates address details, then if you want that permission to be also impacting here in the workflows, also you say no, they should not see. Not only in the employee profile level, even if it came for approval also, manager is not supposed to see that particular address information. Then you keep respect permission as yes. So if you keep respect permission as yes, even in the workflow, that as per the permissions, it will not display any data to the manager, where manager has to blindly approve the request. He will not get what is actual data that came for approval. He can't approve it. So in that case, definitely nobody will approve it. They will delegate it to somebody. So I can't see the data as per the authorizations that I don't have. He can delegate it to somebody else, where whoever is authorized to see the employee data, they can either HR or HOD or somebody else, they can approve it. So that way, respect permission is the one. Wherever in a workflow, if you want to say that, even if it is a workflow approval process, it should go as per the permissions. In RBP, if we have given the access, here also it can be given. In the RBP, if we have removed the access to that particular information, even here they should not be able to see that. That way, respect permission basically functions, guys. Where 99% we keep it to none, no only. So we don't consider any permissions. Maximum in the real time, no customer comes up with such kind of a requirement. Okay, if you say that you don't want this person to see that particular data, don't maintain him as an approver. You don't want that manager to see this data, but he should be the approver. That is not appropriate. So 99%, whenever such kind of a such kind of a collision comes, the approver and the person who should not see the data is both the same. We as a consultant recommend the customer to change the workflow process. Okay, instead of you saying respect permission as yes, and they have to approve it blindly, or they have to again delegate it to somebody else, and that takes more time. So instead of that, this is the best approach. If you want to respect permissions, instead of manager, call somebody else as the approver. That is a way. So to follow RBPs or not in the workflow, we have this respect permission as an option, where 99% we keep it as no only. So these are all the attributes what we are required to see in the workflow level. This email configuration is not required. We have already standard success factors emails that will be triggered whenever there is a workflow came for my approval. whenever I approved it, whenever I rejected it, or whenever I delegated it to somebody. Okay, and if there is a pending, if it has to send me a reminder email after 10 days, 15 days kind of, for everything there are standard emails in the system. We don't require to separately configure here. So till this respect permission is the important attributes what we are required to look at here. Okay, so same attributes will be applicable for any number of approvers. Okay, and even for contributors also. There are few parameters that are applicable in contributor level, but the meaning is the same. Relationship to approver, context, respect permission, these three are applicable at a contributor level. Okay, but whatever meaning we have here on the top in the approver level, same meaning even for a contributor also. Okay, so this way we have these different set of participants like approvers, contributors, and CC role that can be defined in a workflow object with all these various attributes, guys. So once you define a workflow process, saying first approval is manager, second approval is a HR group, and next you have one contributor as employee HR, and CC role as some external email. Like this, once you configure it, you want now the workflow to be triggered as per this. Whenever there is a particular change in the system, you want this workflow to be triggered, and it has to go for these 2-level approval and all. Now, how to configure that is the next point. Okay, so for that, gentlemen, now let us take an example of if the employee's address details are changed. So we have been seeing the name as address change. Let us assume the same thing. If the employee updated his address portlet, then if you want this particular workflow to be triggered, say, such that it has to go for the employee's manager approval. Once manager approved it, it goes to a dynamic group called HR group. So if you want to go in that path of approval process, then we need to understand first of all, really is there is a change in the address data. Only when there is a change in the address data, system has to trigger the workflow. Okay, so for that case, we can make use of business rules, guys. We have a concept called, a very important concept called business rules in Employee Central, configure business rules. So using this configure business rules, you can start writing new rules, new conditions in the system, and you can have some validations, some automation of workflows, triggering of workflows, various things can be done. So in this demo system, there are already 500 plus rules that are present, where if you want to create a new rule, here you have an option called add button. Here you have a toolbar. In the toolbar, you have this plus icon, which is basically to create a new rule. Okay, but before even creating a new rule, let me first show you an existing rule that is present in the system for this purpose of address changes. So here you have, so there is an existing rule. Let me just show that. PC workflow address changes, which is a standard rule that SF has given. I'll first show you that you'll have a clarity on it, and then we'll start building our own rule as well. So a business rule in Employee Central is basically all about if and then conditions, guys. If and then. If something is occurring, then what should happen? Else, if something else happens, then what should be happening? Like that, if and then. So here you have some if condition. If something happens, then what should the workflow? Else, if something else happens, then what is the workflow? Like that. For this condition, this is a workflow. Else, if this condition, this is a workflow. Like that, you can keep some conditions, and for if that condition satisfies, what is the workflow approval to be triggered? Like that. Okay. So here it's all about if and then conditions in a business rule you have. So now the rule is such a way they are checking each and every field of the address portlet, guys. In the standard rule, they are checking each and every portlet of the address portlet. So whenever employee updated his address portlet, it will check is there really any change in the system or not. So if address line 1 dot value, if it is not equal to line 1 dot previous value. So dot value means this is the value that is currently on the screen. Currently on the screen, what is the address value we have? When the employee is entering something and he's closing the screen, at that point of time, whatever is the address that is currently on the screen, address line 1, if that is same as, is that same or it is different when compared to the last value in the database. So previously you already have some address record in the system, Now on the screen, what I am seeing and what is in the database in the last record, if these both are same or not. If these are both are same, that means that field level there is no data change. Example, city. On the screen currently it is city. Even in the database, last value is also city. Say the existing value is Mumbai. The last city value is also Mumbai. Say that means there is no change. Similarly, pin code like the address line 2, address line 3, country, state, every field level we can check it. If any field is found like there is a change, say example here cities, the current new city is showing as Mumbai, the old city is shown as Pune. Okay, then that means there is a change. The current city on the screen is not equal to the last city value which is in the database. That means I identified that there is a change in the data made in this portlet in the city field. So if any of the fields got changed, not specifically city field, address line 1, address line 2, address line 3, city, postal code, country, state, any field is observed to be made a change. Here we kept a or condition. So either first condition or second condition or third condition, like that if any condition is met, then I want to have this particular workflow to be triggered. Set workflow value. Here you have a set option. Set wf-config.value workflow configuration to be equal to address change. So this address change is nothing but the address change workflow that we have configured here with the 2 levels of approval, 1 contributor, 1 CC role. With that, whatever is the address change is a workflow that has been configured. That is called here in the business rule. That is called here in the business rule. That is the way. So this way we can have the conditions written without any coding, without any help of any programmers, anything. We as a functional consultant, we can build our conditions, guys. So if any of these conditions satisfies, then I want this particular workflow to be triggered. It's a very simplest way of doing this. We'll also look into that now. So this is how a standard rule looks like.
Where do we find these values? Home address model dot address one value, postal code dot value. I mean, if I need to check.
Yeah, that is what we're now going to look. Okay. That is what we're now going to look at. So this is an existing rule I'm showing which is already built. So how should we know this and how should we build it is what now I start showing you, where in the same configure business rules. So if you go for configure business rules again, so whenever you are required to write a condition on one particular portlet, say example, you want to check the conditions, whenever there is a change in the address data, you want the workflow to be triggered. That means your conditions are on the address portlet. Okay, if you want to have a workflow triggered whenever there is a dependence data change, on the dependence portlet you will write the condition. But now my requirement is on the address portlet. Whenever there is a change in the employee address, I want the workflow relevant to that portlet triggered. So in that case, I will start writing a new rule here. I can just click on this add icon here in the toolbar, just create a new rule, where while you are creating a rule, system will ask you on which object you are planning to write the rule. So here on the left hand side, different scenarios, guys. We call them as scenarios, each and everything on the left hand side: advances, employee central core, email related, some metadata framework, MDF related, position management, performance management, recruiting, multiple module related. There are different scenarios that SF gives. So initially we can start with, to go to the extreme bottom, we have something called as basic. Basic, we start with this, keeping the category as basic rule. So in that basic, here you are required to give the name of the rule and some details about that rule. So you can fill it here. So among all these attributes, the important one is the base object, guys. Very, very important. Base object. That is on the basis of which portlet you are writing the conditions. Now your condition should be based on address portlet or personal information portlet or salary information portlet, on which one. That is the base object. So here I am required to choose the base object. So my condition is on the address portlet. So if I search for address portlet, keyword as address, I'll get two main things here. One as the address and other as the address model. Two things. Email address and simple address format are not relevant to the address portlet. These two are relevant to the address portlet. the normal address and the modal one more as address model. Similarly, even if you want to go for any conditions on job information portlet, then you will also have it. Job information model. First one and the last one. Job information model. Similarly, compensation information. Compensation information model. Like that, for every portlet, SuccessFactors system will give you two kinds of base objects. Okay, so this is a very important certification question. The difference between the normal one and the modal one. Why should we have both the things when we are writing business rules as a base object is, whenever you are trying to write some conditions on the current data on the screen. Say example, I go to any employee profile. Whenever I am trying to edit some data on the screen, whatever is the current data that is there, if I'm going to write some conditions on that current data on the screen, then we will give this normal version of a base object, the normal version. If you are going to write a condition on the previous value in the database, that is, I'll just show you. So now here you have, say, address portlet that comes under here. Yeah. Here we have an address portlet, guys. So now whenever I'm editing this address, if my change is on any of these fields, okay, so now here, as per this rule, what you see here, base object is normal version or the modal version. We have two versions. Just start typing the portlet name as address, the normal and the modal one. So when you're writing the conditions, if your condition is regarding the data in any of these screen fields on the screen, then you use the modal version. But if your requirement is to check the data on the current screen by comparing it with the previous record in the database, currently now on the screen, this is address line 2 is having some ABCD 11121 something. This data, if you want to compare with the last data in the screen in the database, say example, now address line 2, if I made a change, I just made some change in the address line 2. Now this is the latest value. What is the last value in the database? Is ABC 1121. So the current data on the screen, if I am comparing with the latest, the last value in the database, then we are required to go with the modal version, guys. A very, very important certification question. When do we use the modal version? This is one of the reasons. Whenever you want to compare your current data on the screen with the old data or the last latest record in the database. Currently this query is not yet saved. Address line 2, what I typed as query is not yet saved. So as of now, the latest record in the database is ABC 1121. When I want to compare my current data with the latest value in the database, then I need to go for the modal version of the business rules. So now if it is address portlet, for this purpose, if I want to compare with the old data and check and validate is that really a data change in my system or not, then I have to go for a modal version. So if I go for modal version, whenever employee is updating his address, really is there any change that he has made, system will check with the old record and the current data on the screen. If it finds anything different, it will trigger the workflow. So everything is fine, no workflow triggers. That is the way. So here you have the base object as address model, and then you can give some name to your address, that is, say, custom address change March 12th. So that is the name of the address and the ID of the address, and here you can have some description. So what is this rule basically going to do? You can write some description so that people later on, if anybody is referring to these conditions in this rule, they will have a clarity of what it is basically, why is this rule defined and all. Okay, but a rule type is basically a free drop down field, guys. In a customer system, you will not have any values here. Actually, it's a free drop down field, a pick list field. Whatever values you want, you can define into that drop down through pick list center. But why is that used is, any rule that you create in SuccessFactors system, if you want to define that this rule belongs to EC, this belongs to recruitment, like that, if you want to categorize them, or within EC, this rule is for some workflows triggering process, or this rule is for some automations, or this is for some validations. So for what purpose is that rule? You can also have a rule type. You can define it. So SF standard will not give you this list in the customer system. We are required to define it. So we define it. So whenever I am creating a new rule, if I want to have a particular folder kind of a particular category to categorize that rules, then I use this rule type as a filter. Actually, that will be of more useful. Tomorrow when you are referring to any rule, just by looking at this rule type, whether this rule belongs to performance module or EC module or recruitment, I'll have a clarity. That is the way rule type is there, which is not mandatory. If you want to use it, you can, but these are mandatory. The name and ID, the start date of the rule, and then the base object on which it is based on. So address portlet, address model means I can compare the current record with the old record. So if I go for continue, here we start writing the rules, guys. In that regard, if and then, if you see two conditions, if something happens, then what should happen? If and then, like this. So here you have if condition, if address model level have here address model as you have chosen, all the fields of the address portlet will be listed, guys. Address line 1, address line 2, address line 3, the city, county, state, provision, all these fields of the address portlet comes up, so that it will basically give you an advantage of writing the conditions of any fields of that particular portlet. You already told that my conditions are on the address portlet, so only address portlet related fields are what that will be loaded here. So now my condition is, if address portlet level address line 1 dot current value which is on the screen, address line 1 level, the value what it is there, if it is not matching with, if it's not equal to same address line 1 dot previous value. So in this address line 1 currently on the screen, what it is, if it is not equal to the address line 1 dot previous value. So address model is nothing but the address portlet. In that address 1 field dot previous value. So if the current value is not equal to the previous value, that is a condition. But not only on one field. I have to check every field of the portlet. So whenever employee is editing this portlet on the screen, either this field or second field or third field or city, whatever he makes the changes, I need a workflow to be triggered. So in that case, I can enhance this rule with multiple conditions. After this is done, I can add one more rule.
Suresh, I have one doubt.
Yeah, please.
How we will check address, that is, I mean, with current or previous address, because on screen it is showing only one address, right? So how we will compare?
In the business rule, you are writing a condition here. System will compare. You are saying the business rule, this logic saying that the current value on the screen you compare with the old in the last record in the database, the previous value, what is in the database. It will check it. Rule will run it. It need not be on the screen on the UI. So system will validate it. If it finds that the current value on the screen is not the same one which is in the database, it will say that the data is changed, and here you will call a workflow. For that, there is a approval required. You will call a workflow. That is the condition. You need not see it on the screen every time. The current record is what system shows you. So basically, anyways, when you are making a change, system is also giving you this previous. You are overriding the existing value with the new value. Previously, this used to be on the screen. I made a new one. These two are not same. Same example is address line 1 level. So this is ending with 112. If I keep it to 113, if I'm changing, there is a change. The current value on the screen is not equal to the last value, previous value in the database. Currently in the database, it is 112. Now you are making a change and you are trying to save it. Okay. So that is what, when you click on save, then we hit on save button, system will execute this business rule what you are writing. So when it executes, it will try to now check each and every content in that portlet. Address line 1, address line 2, address line 3, city, county, whatever conditions you incorporate in this rule. So this is not done with one field. I'll add it. So I want to add one more expression.
And if, let's say, the requirement is date specific, let's say there is a requirement like before until 31st of December.
Let me complete one rule. Without that, everybody will be confused. Let me complete one rule. So other scenarios and other requirements we'll discuss later point. Okay. So first the basic rule, this is the very first rule in this sessions, right? So let us have a complete round of it. So now using this add expression, I clicked on expression, system has given me an option, say, I'll again delete it. So now when I'm trying to add one more expression, it was asking me or and. So now this one more condition, if you add, you want me to check both the conditions or any one of the condition, it is enough. So if any one of the conditions satisfied, also workflow has to be triggered. If address line 1 is changed or address line 2 is changed or city change, state change, whatever employee made a change, anything, I want the workflow to be triggered. That means or. So if the first condition or second condition, if address line 2 in that portlet, if address line 2 here, address line 2 dot value, that is the current value on the screen, if it is not matching with, if it is not equal to address line 2 dot previous value, like that, it's every field of the portlet. One more expression, add again, add expression again, or one more, this time instead of address line 3, let me go for city. If city dot current value which is on the screen, if it is not matching with the previous value which is in the database, the last record, that is city dot previous value, like this, you can keep on writing the condition on all the fields of that portlet. System will check each and every field. If any field did not change, employee did not make any change, say example, here it is only 2, the same one, the old one. Here what is this, ABC 1121, ABC 1121 here. Now there is no change, everything as it is. Now even if the employee click on save button, when the business rule triggers, first line did not change, second line did not change, the city did not change, anything did not change, so system will not trigger any approval. There is nothing required. Even if employee close the portlet, now no pop-up will, nobody will be alerted about it. But if any of the field got changed in this, now you incorporated 3 fields in this condition. If any of these 3 fields, first one or second one or the city, you have an or condition. If any of these 3 fields is found that there is a change in the data, then here you can call then condition. Then what should system do? Then you set a workflow. Set, here you have a set as an attribute in which you can, again, if you click on this drop down, along with the address fields, address line 1, 2, 3, city, county, along with that, here you have workflow config. Set the workflow configuration. Set workflow config dot value. So you are calling the workflow configuration. What is the workflow configuration? Here system will display you all the list of workflows that are created in SuccessFactors. Here in the manage pay structure, whatever workflows are created here, everything, that list, this entire list of workflows are coming in the business rule here, guys. Among that, address change is one that we have been looking at. This is the one, address change, the same one what you see here, address change, the current one. So this workflow has to trigger is what you are saying. If any of those portlets is changed, then this workflow is what it should be triggered. First approver should be manager, second approver should be HR group. All this is what you are saying through business rule. So call this workflow. So I currently stopped it with only 3 fields. You can list down more fields. Address line 3, state, county, province, whatever fields are there, all the fields of the portlet you can check. Or else if your customer has a requirement that if address line 1 or 2 or city change, this is the workflow it has to go. Else if, here at the bottom you have add else if. If any other fields changed, else add else if means again one more block of condition came here. Here, if employee's city changed, or not city, state changed. If state dot current value, if it is not equal to state dot previous value. So if any of these 3 fields change, this is a workflow. If state got changed, then a different workflow. Again set again workflow configuration, wf config dot value. What wf config dot value is what you said. Then which workflow to be triggered. So again there are a few more workflows. There is something called demo underscore March 3. So there is some example workflow created. That is what I am selecting. In demo underscore March 3, if it is only 1 level approval or 4 level approval, a different workflow process it will go. In this address change, we know that it is a 2-level workflow. Here it is a 2-level workflow address change. That demo March 3, that is also here. According to this, it's only 1-level approval. Only 1 level, only manager approval. So if state changed, only 1-level approval. If the other fields changed, both the 2 levels approval. So we call different workflows in the business. This is one workflow which is having 2-level approvals. Here in this, we have only 1 approval, like this. So for different fields, different approval process can be triggered. So you can keep on writing multiple conditions. Again else if, multiple. If any of these first 3 fields level, here in the first 3 fields level, if there is any of the conditions satisfied, then this workflow will trigger. If these 3 fields did not change, if the state got changed, then this workflow will trigger, like that. So system will start validating each and every condition in the rule. So this way you can write a rule on whichever portlet you want, choosing that as the base object. So when you are starting to write the rule, that portlet level, what all fields are there, all that fields will be coming in this, and you click on save. So this way a rule will be ready. If these 3 fields are changed, one workflow, else if other field changed or some other workflow, like this, you can keep writing your conditions. Okay, now with these rules, system is triggering the workflow. If any of these 3 fields changed, system is triggering the workflow here. Okay, so that is how we use the business rules concept to trigger the workflows, guys. Any questions now? Parul, any question?
I have, Suresh.
Yes.
Yeah, the thing is, taking this example of address change, suppose I have home address of India and work address of, say, Germany. Okay. So I will have to define all the fields for if and then condition, right?
It depends. If your customer's requirement is on any particular field, if any field changed, you have a workload. You need not write all the rules in all the fields in the rule. If it's particular these 3 fields level, this is the workflow. If any other field level, other workflow, then only you write individually. If you say there is no particular condition, whenever employee clicks on save button, here if you see on the front end, now save button will come only when there is a change actually. Here the save button will not get activated when then there is no change. Only when you make any small change here, system will immediately enable the save button. So user is able to click on save means there is a change already happened. But what change if you want to identify, then only you will write all these conditions. Okay, but if a customer says that whatever field change, I don't bother. Whenever there is a change, immediately trigger the workflow. That means when employee clicked on save itself, I understand there is a change in the data. Then I need not check any condition. I will directly keep it as, without writing each and every field condition. Here we keep it as always true. Always true means no conditions will be selected. Okay, no problem. So here like this, all the conditions will not be, no conditions will be there. Whenever this rule got triggered, immediately system will call the workflow. So whether address line 1 changed or address line 2 changed or address line 3 changed, system will not bother about it. Whenever user clicked on save button, constantly I want one workflow to be triggered. No conditions to be validated. That is the way. Always true as a checkbox we select here. If you want conditions, then only we write it. If a customer has a different requirement, if these 3 fields change, this is a workflow. Some other fields change, some other workflow, then only you are required to write conditions field level. Okay.
There is an option of simplify expression.
Okay.
Next to always true.
That is where you are, whenever you are writing multiple conditions, it will just break it down here. Don't bother here. Concentrate on first what I'm telling. Till here, and did you understand first? So it's all about when you are writing multiple conditions. If you have multiple and or, if you have made it complex, if you click on simplify, system will delete the unwanted nesting. If you have made any unwanted nesting, it will delete it. That's the only purpose. First, we are required to understand the basic rule, then you will go for the other options. Any questions still here, gentlemen? Writing the conditions and calling the workflow? Okay. So this way we can start writing the conditions on each and every field, and whenever there is a change of any of these fields, as per my rule, if there is any satisfying condition, then the workflow will trigger. If there is no satisfying condition among these three, the system will not trigger any workflow. If a customer is saying on these three fields only I need a workflow, if there is no change in any of these three fields, I don't bother, I don't want any, then they can have it directly saved in the database. So now I save it here like this. So this is a rule that has been written with only three fields in the condition. Now rule is there, it will check the conditions and it will call the workflow, that is also fine. So first you created a workflow, then you have written a business rule to call that workflow. But when I click on save button, how will system know that this business rule has to be triggered? When I click on save button on the right hand bottom corner, how will system know that this particular business rule, cust underscore something ADCH underscore MAR12, something whatever I have given, how will system know this has to be triggered? Means we are required to link this particular business rule with the address, guys. That is a third step. Linking the rule with the particular portlet you are required to do. So linking a rule to a portlet means, so portlet related configuration you find in the manage business configuration. There we are required to link it. Say example, if I open business configuration, the place where we get the address portlet related definition. So here you have all the portlets. Among them, we have the address portlet. In the address, when you click on this home address, now we know that address portlet and the fields of the address portlet all will appear. Till now, we are only aware about this business configuration level, portlet, the label, and all the fields, field labels, field conditions, mandatory, all that you know. But if you go to the bottom, extreme bottom in the portlet level, right hand side, you will have a place called trigger rules. Against any portlet, when you go here, system will show you a place called trigger rules, guys. So this is a place where whatever rule that you have given, whatever rule you have created, if you want that system to trigger that rule, you are required to assign it here. That is, so let me just delete these existings. So this is how it initially looks like. So now if you are required to assign a rule, while writing a rule, what is the base object that you have used? You are required to select that here. We have chosen address model. So select that address model as a base object. And here in the rules, you can choose what is the rule that you have written. So today I have written a rule in the name of that MAR12. Just keep the data as 12, that comes up. This is a rule that I have written. So I linked my rule to the relevant portlet. And event is what it says, when should that rule be triggered? That is, here we have around 5 different options, out of which these first 3-4 are required for us, in which on save is important, very regularly used, and even in the current requirement, this is the one used, on save. The event when should this rule be triggered is on save. On save means on the portlet level, whenever somebody is clicking on save button, whenever they click on this save button is where this rule will be triggered. In that rule, whatever are the conditions, system will start checking all these conditions. If any of these conditions satisfies, system will call this workflow. If system identified that address line 1 or address line 2 or city, among these 3 conditions, if any field is identified as there is a change in the data, that means there is a need of a workflow approval. It will trigger this workflow. For this workflow, who is the first approver, who is the second approver, who is the contributor, as per that, it will notify the people respectively. That is a 3-step process. That's why we first create the workflow. So this is the workflow that we are using, which is address change as a workflow. So first we should be ready with our workflow object with all set of approvers, contributors, everything. Then you should write a rule to trigger that workflow. When should system trigger that workflow? For what purpose it should trigger that workflow? You are writing it. If any of these three fields got changed, then call this workflow is what I say. That is the way. That's the second step. And when should system know that this particular rule has to be executed, has to be triggered? Is I link that particular rule where it is. Third step. I link that particular rule with the relevant portlet called address portlet in the business configuration level using this on save as an event. While linking, I should also say when should this rule be triggered actually. So on save event, whenever some employee clicks on the save button on the front end, this rule what is linked with this has to be triggered on save level, this rule. So this rule will start executing all these conditions. If any of these conditions satisfied, this workflow will be called. So in that workflow, whoever is the approver, whoever is the second level, who is a contributor, they will be notified one after the other accordingly. So that is the three-step process, guys. So here, once I save it, our configuration of workflows will be done in Employee Central. This is how a basic workflow configuration process happens. You need to have a workflow which is defined with a set of approvers, contributors, and all. First step. Second step, to trigger a workflow with the relevant conditions, you need a business rule, and then linking that rule with the relevant portlet in the managed business configuration. That is the third step of linking. With all these three, you will be having the workflows triggered on the front end. That is, now for this three-step process, if you want to validate whether it is triggering or not. So now our rule is saying if any of these three fields changed, workflow should be triggered. One, address line 1, address line 2, and city. Now here in the portlet, let me close it and reopen it. So I'm opening the address portlet once again. So now address line 1 or address line 2 or city, any of these three fields got changed, system says workflow should be triggered. But now I change a pin code. Pin code level, the last digit is 8. I'm making it to 9. There is a change for sure. I'm clicking on save. When I click on save, system will trigger this rule. But in this rule, I don't have a condition on that particular address, that particular pin code field. I'm not checking that condition. So as per that, when that field is not checked, system will save the data without any errors, without any workflow requirements. It is saving. So the last digit, which used to be 8, got changed to 9. Any number of times you do. Now 9, I'm again changing it to say 8. Again, I'm changing it back from 9 to 8. So that is also a change. System identified that there is a change. But for this change, you did not ask me a workflow. So when you click on save, it will save immediately and says your changes are successfully saved. But in your condition, if these three fields got changed, any of these three fields, so that is, if I make a change in address line 1 or 2 or city, in address line 2, this digit of 1, and adding some other digits, something else. Now if I am changing it, when I click on save, system identifies that there is a change and it is asking me workflow to be triggered. Do you want me to confirm to send it for approval is what it is asking me. Because now when I clicked on save button, this rule got triggered and rule found that address line 2 dot current value is not equal to the previous value. The current value when I'm clicking on save, what is on the screen is not equal to the same old value. There is a change. So when that change is identified, system is calling the workflow. So according to the workflow, this is a workflow that is going to be called. This is a workflow it is going to be called. First approver should be the manager, employees manager. So the address change of Anya Singh is happening. So employee of Anya, for her, the Anya Singh's manager is Charles Brown. So that is the first level approval, the Charles Brown, who is her reporting manager. It's saying first approver is that. Next, second approver is HR group, a dynamic group. So as we discussed yesterday, dynamic group means you need to have some set of approvers where all the people who are in the group will be notified. If any one of them approve, it is enough. So that is where here, as per that, in this dynamic group, HR group, there are 2 people. The second step is HR group as a dynamic group. There are 2 we have assigned yesterday, Sydney Patel and Alex. So both of them are called in the number 2, approval number 2, both of them are there. If any one of them approve, it is enough. That is 2 level approval. And contributor contributor is the HR employees HR. But currently here system is not showing me any contributor. That means for Anya Singh, there is no HR maintained in the system. When system is cannot able to identify that the contributor, it will skip that user. So let us once cancel this. Just a moment. Let me maintain the contributor for this employee. That is the HR should be maintained. In the job relationships, I guess there is a job manager maintained from 1st February 2021. Okay, just give me a second. This HR is actually effective from 2021 1st February, but the address change what I'm making is earlier. That's why it is throwing that error. So let me just keep it effective 2010 somewhere. Backdated, I'm keeping it. One second, guys. Let me just first check what is the address date here. March 2021. March 2021. HR manager as Tessa Walker. So she's 19. Make some change. Yeah. So now system is bringing the contributor. Previously, for the date for which we are making a change, at that time HR is not properly linked with the employee record, so that way it did not pick the contributor. Now employee is also assigned with a HR. So HR is nothing but the contributor for this workflow. That is what it's been configured. Contributor should be the employee HR. So whenever system identified that there is a change in the address to field, it is calling the first approver, second approvers, who is the contributor, who is the CC role that will receive the notification. It will show all the workflow participants to the person who is actually requesting this change. So it is going for all these people, approval, contributor, all that. If you are okay, I'll just confirm. That is what I just have to click on the confirm button. When I click on confirm, first the Charles Brown as a reporting manager, he will receive an email notification to either approve or decline. There is some workflow request pending for your approval. With that text, there will be an email that will be triggered to him. Along with him, parallelly, contributor will also receive the email, because contributor is also the person right from first step of the workflow till the last step of the workflow. He or she also should have the access to the workflow. So when the first approver is notified, parallelly contributor is also notified, saying that for a so and so workflow you have been assigned as a contributor and it is now waiting for your comments, kind of. So now if I confirm it, first Charles Brown will be notified, who is the first approver. So now, okay, before even going to that, here if you see, here it says there is an address change pending approval. So when employee updated it, until it is approved, system will not bring the change here. So it says that there is a pending request approval. So now as an employee, if I again click on this link, system will show me what is the workflow that got triggered exactly. And if I want to withdraw that change, I can even withdraw as an employee. So now it will open the workflow screen. That hyperlink is opening the workflow screen. It shows that address in the home address line 2 got changed. This is a previous value and this is a new value. That is a change. So for that, who initiated it, for whom it is the request, all the details will be there, the basic details. And if I'm not okay for making this change for approval, I can withdraw it. As an employee, if who requested it, they can have this withdraw button. If they're clicking on withdraw, that change what they have made will be reverted back. That's it. So until the approver, at least the first approver approved it, the employee will have a withdraw button. Once the first approver approved it, this withdraw button will be not there. Like this. This is the withdraw. So I don't want to withdraw. Now I want this to be approved by manager. Then let us go into the manager login. That is Mr. Charles Brown, and see how it appears to him. So now in the Charles Brown login, because it is one approval item pending for his input, so it appears in his to-do list, guys, because it is something that he is supposed to close, either approve or decline, whatever. That is his to-do item. So in his login, first of all, in the email, he will receive an email notification, and also in the SuccessFactors system, under to-do list, there will be one tile that comes up here in the name of approve requests. Here, approve requests. 1 second, guys. Somebody has configured this, guys. Approve request as a tile comes up here. So among this, any tile that comes, a tile that shows in the name of approve request is basically an employee central approvals. Anything that is coming from the employee central module, that will come in the name of approve request. So there are 10 requests that are waiting for Charles Brown's approval. Among that, one will be Anya Singh's. Address change request of Anya Singh will be one among the 10. So when you click on the tile, system will open you all the 10 pending requests, out of which the latest one should be Anya Singh's, because she just now submitted. In the order, the latest one, it will show as that on the top. Address change for Anya Singh is the first request. There are some other pay change requests and all that are different, but this is the latest request that he has to approve. So if he is directly ready to approve, he can click on approve button here itself, or else if he wants to clearly see the change, what actually is the change, he can click on this subject line of the workflow. He can just hit on it. System will open the workflow screen. The same workflow screen what I opened to an employee with the withdraw option, now it will open up to the approver. As a first approver, he can see this. Same like what employee saw, he can also see what is the data change. But this time, he will have an option to make some comments. Any comments he wants to make, he can type it and he can click on post. So that comments will be recorded on the right hand side. Who made a comment, what is that comment, when was that comment made, all that. And at the bottom, he will get these options called approve, send back, or delegate. Sending back is nothing but kind of rejecting. So either he can approve his request or he can send back it. Clicking on send back will go to the employee. It is not declined, guys. For employee data changes, SS will not give you an option called decline. It will give you an option called send back. That means it will go back to employee's ownership again. If as per the comments made by the manager, if he need any further details to be updated, any changes to be made, employee can make that and he can resubmit it. So when I click on send back, it will actually go back to employee. He can make the changes and he will get a button called resubmit. He can submit it again like that. So approve or send back or delegate. A very interesting option, delegate. If I feel this is an approval what I cannot decide, I can't take it up, I want to send it to somebody else, I can click on delegate button, where system will give me an option to choose the target person. Say if I want to delegate this particular thing to a lady called Dolan, Kristen Dolan in the system. That is CHRO, Chief of HR. I want to delegate to that person. That person I feel that is the right person to take a call on this data. Then I can nominate that person and I can click on send. and I can confirm delegation. Yes, delegate. If I click on delegate, this workflow will be moved out of my inbox. So now whatever is the 10 pending items, it shows as 9 now. The count shows as 9. So here you can see in the top, my workflow request count came down to 9. Previously it is 10. So that one responsibility what came to me, I pushed it to somebody else. That is a delegation option. It's all depend on the customer's requirement, whether they want to use this delegation functionality or not. If they want it in the workflow level, we keep this is delegation supported to yes or no here in the workflow object level. Okay. Now I delegated to somebody. Before I go to that somebody, I also want to show you guys one more option. Every user, if he wants to see all the workflows in which he is involved, not only the workflows what he is as an approver, other workflows in which he already approved but they are still pending, his own workflows, like that, wherever I'm involved in a workflow, if I want to see, there is an option for every user called pending requests. I request you guys to make a note of this point. Pending requests. View my pending requests. So if you go for this, view my pending requests. So this is a page which will have 4 blocks, 4 categories. That is, the first category shows those requests what are waiting for my approval. That is same nothing, whatever shows in my to-do list, it will appear here also. What all requests that are waiting for my approval. That is straightforward understanding. And going to the bottom, the second block shows those requests what I approved already, but they are still in progress. So I am one of the approver. It says, example, it is a 3-level approval. I approved it as a first level. It is either still waiting in the second level or third level. So those requests what I approved but are still in progress will appear here. That way. And here on the right hand side, the first one, the third block here, my request waiting for approval. End of the day, for my subordinate, I am the approver. But for my request also, I have my manager where my requests are waiting for somebody else's approval. So those requests of mine which are waiting for my managers, my HRs, my next level approvals, they will appear here. If I am waiting for any workflow approvals, that is this. And my notification is an area for any workflow. If I am nominated as the contributor, I am not an approver, but if I am a contributor for any workflow, all that workflows for which I am contributor will appear in my notifications section. Like that, all the workflows in the system in which I am involved, either currently pending for my approval, or I already approved and the workflows are still in progress, or my approvals that are pending, or notes, or the contributor category of workflows, anything will appear under one single page called view my pending requests. Okay, this is one important tool where everybody in the real time regularly access this page, guys, just to have a look at what all workflows I am involved, I am yet to approve, and what my requests are pending. Like that, they can have a look at it. Pending requests. And here one point is, any workflow that you delegated to somebody also will appear in the request pending for my approval. So this is a workflow we just delegated to a lady called Kristen Dolan. It shows that it is delegated and it is currently with Kristen Dolan, but it still shows under my bucket here again. Why is that? Means SF says, as per what is configured in the system, you are the primary approver. If you can't do it and you want somebody else to take care, okay, I gave you an option to delegate, but it is your responsibility to make sure that delegate is approving it or rejecting it, whatever they have to take an action. Until they take an action, you are the prime responsibility. Your employee, your subordinate will come and ask you what happened to my approval. He will not go to that delegated person and he will not ask. He will come to you and ask what is the status. Did you approve or reject, or what is the status? So it is in your bucket. So that is what SF says. So now you delegate it to somebody, and if that person is not taking action, it's been 1 week, it's been 2 weeks, that person is not responding, is not either accepting or delegating, not accepting or declining, then you can go to that workflow again from this page. So you have already delegated. By clicking on this link under pending requests, you will again see this workflow. So the address change request came, which came to you. You can again see this workflow, but this time you get a button called revoke. Revoke means you gave it to somebody, they are not responding. So now you decided, I whatever happens, I want to take the decision. So revoke it. Revoking is revoking of delegation. Now the workflow comes back to your control. Again, you get the button to approve, send back, or this time if you want to delegate to somebody else, that options are again back with you. You send it to somebody and you revoke the delegation. Everything will be recorded here, guys, on the right hand side. So delegated by Anya Singh on so and so date, delegation revoked by Anya Singh on so and so date, like that everything is captured like this. So this is the way how approvers will get a workflow request in their to-do list. The workflow item what came in their to-do list can be approved, or it can be sent back, or it can be delegated. Once delegated, it can even be revoked back. So these are all the multiple options we have at a workflow approval level for one approver. Okay, so now it came back to the first approver again, and now this time he decided to approve by himself. That is done. First approval is done. Now, before we go for second level approval, let us parallelly see how the system, how the contributor is able to see the workflow. So contributor is HR of the employee. That is, in this case of Tessa Walker, the contributor is, in this case of Anya Singh, the contributor is Tessa Walker. That is the HR of the employee. Now we'll go to Tessa Walker's login and see. But before that, if you see this, in this pending request of Charles Brown, the manager level, this workflow request now came to the second block, which used to appear in this top block. It came to the second block saying, guys, just give me a moment. Yeah. So it came to the second block saying request still in progress that I approve. So it is approved by him, but it is waiting at a second level approval. So that appears here. So until it is completely approved, he will have a track. What all requests I approved but are still waiting by at somebody else, he can have a track of all those things in this section. That is the way. So now let us proxy as the contributor, which is the HR of this employee, Tessa Walker. So now the system opens up with the page reloaded with Tessa Walker's login. Yeah, this is Tessa Walker's login. So now in the to-do list, we need a block in the name of approve request. Yes, this is killing me. Configure this, guys. Delete this. Okay. So now in the to-do list, there are approve requests. There are 9 requests of Tessa Walker. So now if we go under this 9, one should be Anya Singh's address change request. The way how Charles Brown, the reporting manager, saw this. Here, among these 9 requests, one should be Anya Singh's address change. So now among 9, you see Anya Singh's address change request is not found here among all the 9. Why is that so? I'm not able to see that here. There are 9, but none of them is Anya Singh's address change. Why is that? Can anybody tell me? Tessa Walker is a contributor. She logged in into the system, but she is not able to see that Anya Singh's workflow request under these 9 requests what are in her control. Anybody, any guess?
Her approval is not required. It is only for her information, right?
Excellent. Exactly. Contributor's behavior is that contributor is a person not intended to decline or approve the request. It's an option given to them. If they want to raise any concerns, they want to give any suggestions to the approver, they are required to involve. But it's not mandatory thing. It's not a to-do item for them. So if you keep HR as a contributor, if there are 500 employees in the company, all 500 workflows, she is the contributor. For all 500 employees, apply a leave request. For everything, she is the contributor. It doesn't mean that she has to mandatorily go to all 500 requests and do something. It's an option given to them. It's not her to-do item. If she already received an email saying that you are the contributor for this workflow, if she really wants to involve herself, she can go to that screen that I just now told previously, pending request screen. In that, she can find that thing which is waiting, which came to her window as a contributor. So here under pending requests, under my notifications, I see this. Any request in which I am nominated as a contributor, they will appear under my notifications. Here as a contributor, I can go for this workflow. What all manager or whatever approver is able to see, I can also see everything. Each and every minute detail, I can also see as a contributor. That is, so when this workflow initiated, what is the address change? I can also make some comments here on the right hand side. So somebody commented on it, somebody delegated, they revoked the delegation, they approved it. And here if you click on view workflow participants, so who are the approvers that system has configured for this? Already it has been approved, on which date it is approved, like that. Who are the CC roles? Everything will be visible for contributor also, but they lack the option to approve or decline or delegate. They only have the option to give their suggestions and post it. That is the comments, in the form of comments that will be recorded here. Whatever comments they make, the other approvers can have a look at them. As per that comments, what are the suggestions given by contributor, they can work on it. So either to approve or decline, or ask employees with some other options and click on send back, what all details to be done, they can do. That is how the contributor behaves. Except a button of approve, reject, every control they have, every history, every screen, they can see about a workflow, what is happening. Okay, so that is a contributor role. And then we have the second level approval. Now let's go for second level. So second level approval is, we have two, it's a HR group, guys. In HR group, you have two people, Alex and Sydney Battle. So let's go for one person initially. Say I go for I proxy as one of the person called, say, Alex. So contributor, dynamic group means how many people are in that group, everybody should be able to see that workflow. So now Alex and Sydney Battle, both of their login, that workflow will appear. I'll show you guys. So first I am going to Alex. In Alex, in his to-do list, approve request as a tile should come up. It's irritating me. So in this approve request, there is one request waiting for his approval, and if you go for that, that one will be Anya Singh's. Address change for Anya Singh. This is the one. That is with Alex now. Same thing. Now if I go to Sydney Battle's login also, proxy now as Sydney Battle, even his login also I'll check. That is what the expected behavior. Dynamic group level, how many people are in that group, everyone should receive it. If any one of them take the action, that is enough. So like I want to have an approval from IT department, payroll department, finance department, kind of, in that cases this will be useful. So now in the Sydney Battle's login also, you have this approve request. There is one tile, which is there is one workflow item in this approve request. That one item will be Anya Singh's. If you click on this approve request, that will show up Anya Singh's address request. Address change for Anya Singh, it's available. So even I can approve it, anybody can. But whenever you're working on this, dynamic group based, guys, SF has given one more button called assign to me. Once you go into the workflow, not only an option to approve, send back, delegate, one more option called assign to me comes up. When we are using dynamic group based approval, one more button assign to me. What does this do is, when there are 4 people who receive this request, before this assign to me button came, previously customers had an issue that when 4 people are nominated, all 4 people will think the other person is approving. I think you will take care, you think I will take care, like that. Nobody is approving it. So in that case, if you want to approve it right away. But if you think that you want to approve this, you want to take care of this workflow, but you need some time, then you click on assign to me. If you click on assign to me, it will be removed automatically from the others bucket. You are the only responsible person for that. You are saying that I will take care of it. Others need not take care of it. So that is, you are nominating yourself as the owner of this workflow if you click on assign to me. So if, now initially it came to all the 4 people, When you click on assign to me, it will remain only in your inbox. In the other 3 people inbox, it will be removed. So you are going to finalize that workflow. That is the way. Assign to me is an option that additional SF has given just in 2009 sometime, 2019. Previously, we did not have it. In 2019, in one of the updates, they have given this. That way. So if I want to approve, now I can approve. So with this, the second level approval is also done. So we have actually configured this workflow with 2 levels. So both the levels are, it is approved. Contributor also acted on it. And now the final thing is, if a complete approval is done, the person who is in the CC role level should receive an email notification. So let us see, because that workflow has been approved, let us see whether to that external email ID there is any CC note or CC notification that was sent or not. Just a second. So request is approved. Did not trigger yet, guys. Let me just wait. Let me check the spam folder. Is the email ID given properly? One second. No, some issue, guys. It did not trigger the external email. I'm not sure. Even the email ID is properly maintained. I'll just check that later. It's already late. I'll not waste your time. So basically, once the approval has been done, all the levels of approval is done. The person who is maintained in the CC role. So here I just maintained an external email address. So to this email address, system has to send that. What do you say? System has to send that workflow email, that confirmation email. So, but that did not come here. There is no item showing here. I'll just check that and come back. No problem. So this is how the workflow configuration process happens and how the output of it looks like. So to recap it, first we are required to create a workflow with your set of approvers, contributors, CC roles, all that. Then you are required to write a business rule to trigger that workflow. So you say that this is a workflow that is required for address changes. So when should that workflow be triggered? So if any of these 3 fields changed only, I want workflow. If you say, then write the conditions on it. If any of these 3 fields system identifies that there is a change, it will trigger this workflow. So when this is triggered, it will go for that approvers one by one. So they are giving all that options of approving, sending back, delegation, all that various options. Any questions here, guys?
So Suresh, I have one question.
Yeah, please.
That is related to proxy. When we are using other system using proxy, so that time that person will get to know that, I mean, their system is in use or some action has been taken or not.
Nothing. Proxy is a feature given for administrators. Now I am also an administrator in the system as a consultant kind of. I am testing the things. I use this in the end user system, in the final live system. Normal employees will not be given with this proxy. It's very much limited to only administrator. Okay, it's not a regular thing that every employee uses. That's why there is no notification that somebody is using or not. If this tool is intended for everybody to use, then all that notifications all are required. This is purely an admin tool. A super admin or a local admin kind of people only will use.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Suresh, Rupa here.
Yeah, please.
when we write rule and if there is a error or mistake while writing the rule, will the system prompt that there's some missing criteria or whatever? For example, I have just mentioned if condition and I forgot to write then condition and I try to save it. What will happen?
If it cannot be saved, it will not save. So with first of all, if you write it here, it will see. If you don't add anything, it will save. I'll just show it in front of you here itself. If you don't give any then condition, I guess it will be saved mostly.
The rule is wrong, na?
Save it. That's what it will not be triggering. This is save it. As of now, it is say example. You can also have a situation where you are writing the rule, but you did not complete. You are required to leave it. So example, same like in employee hiring level, you have a save as draft option. You need to save it. Till here, what I've written, I don't want to. I don't want that to be deleted. You can save it whenever you are completely. You assign it. That's all admin related. It's a system has nothing to do with saying error and all. Syntactically, if there is an issue, it can throw an error. If you don't give anything, it will not give you. Of course, when you enter, when you assign, it cannot trigger any workflow. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi Suresh, this is Naveen. Okay,
Yeah,
is there
please.
any time setup? Is there any time limit we can set, for approvers? If they have to set up, if they have to approve by only in one day, so is it
If
possible?
they have to, I not get you. If they have to,
If they have to approve the request in one day, so can we set up that in the system?
yeah, definitely. So we have a concept called escalation. Not one day. One day is very less. But yes, we can give even if it is 1 day or 7 days something. We can give it as escalation, so such that if I keep say first level approval, we wait for 7 days. If we did not approve it, automatically it has to go to that approver's manager. Whomever I nominated as approver, if he is not acting on within 7 days, it has to be escalated to his manager. Like that, not to second level. Whoever is the first level approver, his manager it will go for first level escalation. He will approve. When he approves, then it will go for second level. Like that, whether I have to wait for 5 days or 7 days or 15 days, kind of escalation matrix we can set. We will discuss in the next week.
Okay, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any others, guys? Okay, so I'll be sending some documentation on this, guys. You will get a bunch of documentation actually on this business rules, workflows, and on the next Monday session, we discuss a topic called event reason derivation. So till now, what we have been discussing, this concept is called workflow derivation rules. You create a workflow. To call that workflow, to derive that workflow, you write a business rule. All that is what we saw a concept as a three-step process, workflow derivation rule. A similar three-step process, we have another concept called event reason derivation rule. So first of all, what is event reason? Where do we use it? Why do we use it? We are required to first understand that. Then what is a derivation concept? Further, how business rules will be used? All that. So either we might be able to complete it on Monday. If not, it might even extend into Tuesday session also. It's almost a twin concept. The same sequence of configuration what we have done for this workflow derivation, similar sequence we do it for event reason derivation. Okay, so the documentation relevant to this event reason workflow all clubbed up around 6 to 7 standard success factors, PDF guides, all that learning material is going to be sent to you as a consolidated email. You can go through those resources. Okay, so I expect even in the exercises also this is present, guys. So create your own workflow on any portlet. I have taken example of address portlet. Either you want to take that only or any other portlet. Take an example of one portlet that you make a business rule, you write you design a workflow and try to call it. Everybody can practice this. Okay, it's a common requirement in the real time. You will have this requirement of triggering workflows mandatorily in every project. Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. That's all for now. Let's again connect back same time on Monday evening. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Wish you the same.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.